This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Total Supplements. Visit their website totalsupplements.co to discover their range of nutritionist-tested supplements, gummies, shakes and natural extracts. From popular sports supplements like whey protein, creatine, vitamin tablets and powders to mental health supplements such as nootropics and mushrooms, they've got you totally covered. They also have men's health collection offering testosterone support and beauty supplements to keep you looking like your absolute best. I personally use Total Supplements products and I have been using them from before they came on board to sponsor the podcast, so I'm hugely excited to be partnering with a brand that I know and love. So whether you train hard, work hard or take an active interest in your overall health, use our code stjames'pod, that's stjamespod, for 25% off your entire order. The link's in the description. Support the podcast and visit totalsupplements.co now and tell them St James's Pod sent you. And we're back. Welcome to St James's Pod. We're here for the Brentford preview after the international break. We're back. It's me, Sam. I'm here with Alex and Tom. We're going to go over that, but first let's start with the club news and the images of the new stack outside of St James's Park have been released. Alex, you've been drooling over the potential new bars and the new food stalls.
Page drooling over the Musaka van.
I've always wanted Musaka pre-match, like with me pint of Nuki Brown. So there we are. That's the dream. The dream is made.
Fucking rolling up the steps to the
absolute kite out and everything. Just like I'll be.
It's like usual then.
Full to the brim.
So it's going to be called St James's Stock, is the rumour.
I think that's the one.
Might be some branding opportunities there. We can get St James's Pod in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it says powered by Seller, so I think they're obviously trying to take our main sponsor and tie it back into the stack as well. So yeah, more branding, more potential income, revenue, everything that we've previously talked about. The commercial rev is going to be going higher and higher as we want to see it. So yeah, good signs.
I wonder if they'll be selling that water, the new Toon Spring or whatever it is.
Toon Spring
H2O.
Straight from the Tyne.
What other club news was there this week? Obviously the lads are away on international duty, and there's been some good performances by the looks of it. I know Bruno got I think he got a couple of assists, didn't he? And he was getting raved about. Joe Linton got on. Miggy was playing. Looks like he's picked up an injury or potentially just a cramp. We'll get into that when we're talking about the team news, but Cher also played, which is good because we worried he was going to be injured, but it looks like he's fully fit. And you were just talking about Minte as well, obviously on loan.
Say his name without saying it. Fucking stupid. I do it. He comes on at half time for Gambia and bags a goal on his debut. So once again, he's scored on his debut. Was it his debut or one of his first starts for Feyenoord, anyways? And now straight off the mark for his country. It's class. That's one. Like obviously, we've seen Kual get some minutes for Australia. But it's good to see your players doing well. The likes of Lewis Miley obviously playing for the under-19s. I think it's good to see. Like a lot of the young players actually getting minutes.
And there's a thing with another youngster, Elliot Anderson. Obviously, he kind of made his intentions known that he was wanting to play for Scotland, but then he picked up an injury, didn't he? So he didn't get a feature for them. And now Tom, you were saying Southgate's sniffing around him again.
He's keeping tabs on him for sure, but I think it would take a lot of convincing from England's perspective that he's going to be guaranteed opportunities for him to turn down Scotland. But because Scotland, I know, so we've got a few few of our friends who love a little bit of Scotland, but they're on the up, and
Storming.
they are storming, like out of like, you know, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but like they've gradually been building this team up, and qualifying 5 wins now out of 5. They've got the friendly to come against England, and I'm maybe thinking it's not gonna go England's way, the way that Scotland are playing. So,
and the way England are playing as well.
Well, exactly, yeah. So, no, Elliot Anderson might just do well to stick with Scotland, and just any advances from England might just be turned down from his side. But and Harvey Barnes as well is another one who has obviously played for England, but can still be called up for Scotland. I think he's only played friendlies or played under a certain threshold for England, so he can be switch allegiances if he wants to. And I think Scotland are keeping close eye on that one. So yeah, could be that we have a couple of Scotland internationals in the squad pretty soon.
That's the thing though, like Southgate is like dangling the carrot for both of them, like name dropping both of them, saying like, oh yeah, I'm keeping my eye on Harvey Barnes, like Anderson is looking good and stuff like that. But then his actions are speaking completely different, starting people like Henderson and Maguire. Like it's not really like incentivise them to like actually think about like committing to England, because he's proven over a number of years now he's got his favourites and he doesn't particularly give youth a chance. So yeah, if I was either of them, I think I'd be declaring for Scotland as well. Like there's no doubt about it for me, and it'd be good for them to get some minutes as well, some more competitive games like in international breaks. I'm all for it, Mike.
It'd be good for us as a club as well, I think, because obviously, like you say, there's pretty much no chance that they'll be getting regular minutes for England, even if like Anderson probably never even going to get called up, to be honest, under Southgate especially. So yeah, that'll be good for both of them, I think. Just circling back around to the Miggy one, he came off. There's been conflicting reports about why he came off, but is that something you're concerned about going into Brentford, or would you be kind of okay with Miggy being injured and would shuffle things around a little bit anyway, so you're not too fussed?
I think we're due a reshuffle based on the recent form we've been in. So for me, if it's an excuse to do it, then do it. And Miggy, if he is not fully fit, but maybe has a place on the bench, but just I think that's it's a chance to shuffle the pack and give some other guys the opportunity to stake a claim.
Thinking about Tom.
Well, yeah, you know, Murphy's not an option, but I'd still think maybe Murphy off the bench is the better option in that case. So I don't know, maybe not too sure really on who else we would maybe throw out there on the right if not Murphy to start. But but I do think if the rumours are to be true, then we've got to change things up. So not sure what you guys think on that.
Well, you mentioned about maybe mixing it up anyways and using it as an excuse. It depends, because there's a potential that he's going to play a weakened or rotated side against Brentford, with having Milan obviously 3 games after. So if he's going to keep some of his strongest lineup for the Milan game, then maybe you want Miggy to be starting the Brentford game, then putting maybe if you want to try Gordon or Barnes or someone on the right wing, give them a shot. Maybe Champions League isn't the best game to try that out, but they're both like quality players, they're both good with both feet, so I don't know why they wouldn't give either of them a shot. Like, he likes to play inverted wingers generally, and So I don't think it particularly matters what foot you are on either wing, because as you can see, we'll put Murphy on the right wing and he goes down the line and puts some crosses in. Miggy obviously always cuts back. You could do exactly the same, but start with like a natural right footer on the right wing. So it's up to what Eddie wants, to be fair. Like, as you said, there's no standout candidate who would say like, yes, this is the right winger who should be starting in our strongest lineup. So yeah, maybe this little knockers give Eddie something to think about come this heavy fixture list, like, because there's going to have to be rotation.
So the Brazilian lads as well, obviously they're coming back after the game in South America, so they should be back in time for the game, but it could be another reason Eddie looks at it and thinks, bit of jet lag. It's not really been working that well in the centre of the park the last few games, and we've got AC around the corner. Maybe we shuffle the pack in there a little bit and we could see Longstaff back in the starting 11 potentially. Maybe even see Miley get a spot on the bench, as he's not really been with the first team squad after pre-season. Can you see the being changes for us in the centre of the midfield?
You know what, I'm just gutted that Willock's injured, and obviously he's had this reoccurring injury. Actually, no, I'm sure this one that he's had is being described as a new one, which is unrelated, but it's going to keep him out for even longer. So another 6 weeks or something without Willock. So it's a proper shame, because I'd love to. I think that's what we're missing. We're missing, even off the bench, him coming out in the midfield and driving forward with the ball. But yeah, you're right, that something's not quite there. Bruno's played, I think it was 70 minutes in the first Brazil game. Obviously, we don't know how long he's played in the second one that he's playing. I think it's tonight or tomorrow morning, UK time. So that could be also, we were talking about Miggy, sort of getting a rest or getting rotated and saying that like, I don't know, like, you might not be fully fit. It could be an opportunity to take Bruno out the firing line and saying that, yeah, he's had a few games in Brazil, he's travelled, so we could like leave him out for Brentford and then obviously put him back in for Milan. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Longstaff come in. I think he probably should come in. I wouldn't mind Bruno sitting out for a game. But it's just, yeah, the depth that we've got in there once the starters come out, it's not that deep once, yeah, you've got Anderson, you've got Longstaff, but quality-wise, it's not quite the same. When people are on the game, obviously, because at the moment, Joe and Bruno, the Brazilian guys, aren't playing well, so it will be interesting to see what Eddie does come Saturday evening.
Yeah, I'd be tempted myself to probably take Joe Linton out. It's with the Bruno and Tonali. Obviously, there's a big debate at the minute on social media and stuff about like, oh, they can't play together, and we should have bought an out and out six and stuff like this. I just find it odd now, looking back at the pre-season, that they didn't feature more together at the same time. Like Eddie seemed to play one or the other to get the minutes in pre-season, because it just seems to me like they haven't quite gelled yet, so they just need more time playing together. So it seems a bit odd that they didn't have more time in pre-season together. But I think, like we discussed in the previous ones, like it hasn't been helped by the fact that like Joe Linton's had a bad game, for example, and then it just, like, the whole three kind of falls apart when one of them has a bit of a stinker. So it'll be interesting to see if somebody like Longstaff comes in. Obviously Sky Sports came out with that stat about the win percentage is way better with Longstaff in the team, which is like bit. It's going to be that when we've lost this many games this season, and like we won a load last season, but it'll be interesting one anyway. But I think before we dive into what we think Eddie will do in terms of starting 11, we should just talk about Brentford for a little bit, because they've had a pretty decent start to their season, albeit they've had slightly easier fixtures than us. They're sat on 6 points, I think, so they haven't lost a game yet.
Right, can you add them up this week? Is it 5 or was it 6? 1 win, 3 draws. Pick fingers out.
I rely on you for the mathematics on this pod.
The quick maths. Either on 6 points. A win and 3 draws, aye.
So, how do you feel about their record, Tom, coming in? Because the fact they've not lost a game yet. I know we're like still early in the season, but it's not filling me with confidence.
And look, we've had some wild games against Brentford in recent times. Obviously, a few of them going our way, but some of them also being. I think when they first came up at St James's, we had that wild 3-3 draw, and hey, look, they're a difficult team on their day, and they've obviously got no Ivan Toney, but that's not they haven't skipped a beat really. They're still scoring goals at quite a good rate. They've scored in every game. I think averaging around 2 a game. And Mbuemo and Visser, they've got attacking players in there, and they're a good attacking side. I really like Thomas Frank as a manager. I think he's got a real good enterprising style of play. So yeah, it's not going to be easy. And they were right up there last season. Knocking on the door for the European places towards the end. Just fizzled out a little bit towards the back end, but they were up there for quite a while, and they're up there again. So and I can see them sustaining a bit of that form for a bit longer as well. And then when they get Toney back in Jan, depends on where they are in the league, that they'll think maybe of pushing harder for making those like Conference League spots potentially. So all that said, I don't see this game as being an easy one at all, and we're going to have to really be on our game to get the result we need, which is a win. There's no doubts about it. We need to win this game, but we've got to be fully on it to get it.
Yeah, but you've got to remember last time they came into St James's Park in quite decent form as well, and absolutely slapped them silly. Granted, I think the scoreline flattered a little bit. It was 5-1 in the end, with Tony scoring a penalty. But they are a tough team, and I'm not expecting an easy game, as you're saying. Like, with Tony missing, you really didn't know how they were going to handle that. Like, they haven't brought in a striker. They've got that Sharda. I think he was on loan last season. They brought him in on a permanent deal. But yeah, they've had a really good start. They're scoring plenty of goals, creating a lot of chances. Mbuemo and Visser looking very good up front. That goal in the last minute for Mbuemo, just before the international break, was an insane finish. Well, it was the turn on the break where he just turned with his first touch and he was away. So yeah, I'm not overconfident, especially how we really need 3 points. Like, before these European fixtures, this cup game against Man City, before these start coming in, we need some points on the board, and we need to get up to 6 points, because I think even drawing the game, I think that's drop points, and it just shows how much pressure there is on us after 5 games and having like a hard like fixture to start the season. Because if we'd like held out against Liverpool and had 6 points, or if we'd had an easy start to the fixture, there'd be so much less pressure on this game. But it's just such a huge game Saturday now. Like, yeah, they have a very good side. Frank, as he said, is a very good manager. So it's not going to be an easy one.
Do you think, with you talking about Mbuemo there, do you think that it's potentially a bit worrying at the back, because Botman's still going to be out, I believe? So it should be Byrne at centre back, and obviously didn't have the best game against Brighton, and we know we're so susceptible to people getting in behind us anyway, even with Botman. So with Byrne in there, the pace, the counter attack, we are a bit easy to get at times. Do Do you think Brentford are the type of team that can exploit that?
They've got the pace, definitely, and that's something which we've obviously seen this season is starting to be a problem for us. We obviously last season didn't concede too many, but obviously conceded quite a few goals to counter attacks and pacey players that trouble us. So I can see them, Brentford, looking to set up in a similar sort of way to teams that have come to St James's already this season, and try and catch us on the break. Buemo's obviously a rapid player, Shard as well. There's no doubt about it. They've got all the right sort of tools in their team to exploit us. So I just hope Eddie's got them back to basics when it comes to the defending that we were so good at last season, because that's been sorely missed this season.
Well, we'll go through who we expect Eddie to start in the defence then, because there's been questions around, obviously, Matty Target at left back. We've signed Lewis Hall. Questions around Byrne at centre back. There's also people questioning Nick Pope, his start of the season. Do we think there'll be any changes in that sort of back five? Obviously, Cher's kind of looking like he's fit after coming away from the Brighton game with an injury, but he's played for international, so he should be fine to start. Trippier, I would assume, is going to start. Any changes in the other positions, do you think?
I couldn't see Eddie dropping Nick Pope. I know, despite having had some flaky moments in previous games, I couldn't see him dropping Nick Pope for this one. I don't know, Alex, do you think any different on that? But I would say he's pretty safe in the team.
To be fair, I'd be surprised if he dropped any of that back five. We know what Eddie's like. We know he doesn't like to change things around too much. Obviously, Pope's an absolute no-go. There's no chance that he's coming out that side. We've had a lot of very odd games, and yes, he's not confident at the moment and he's not playing his best. But there's an absolutely zero chance he comes out the side. And I think it's probably the same with Byrne at centre back. I've said before how Eddie likes to have that balance of the left-footed centre back on that side. So it's going to be, unless he wants rotation for the Milan game, which I'm really not sure about after 2 weeks off. Obviously, Trippier, he's getting on a bit, but he hasn't played for England at all so far in this international break. So I see him starting again on Saturday, left back. I still think Eddie sees it as too soon for Lewis Hall. He's still not had minutes, and although Target didn't have a great game against Brighton, it's not like he had an absolute howler and it was like all over the shop. So I just can't see any changes in there. What do you reckon, Sam?
The only thing I was wondering is with the pace, I think Byrne will definitely start centre back, so because the only other option really is Dummett, so I can't see that happening. So I wondered if Lewis Hall's pace might get him ahead of Target. I'm not sure though, how much faster than Target he is. In my mind, he's quite a speedy young lad, but I don't know if that's just because I've seen him bombing up the wing for Chelsea. I don't really remember him doing any cover runs, so he might not even be that faster. But I'd like to see Hall come in, even though I do feel a bit sorry for Matt Target. I think he's had a tough time since he lost his own his starting players, because obviously we've had some tough games this season where he has been dropped back into the team. So if he does start, I'm hoping that he'll be a bit more settled. We're at home. He's had a bit more time playing. He should hopefully be a bit better. But saying that, I would like to see Hall start. I can't see it though. I think you're right. I think it will be the same back four. Pope, it definitely keeps his space. And like, you've got to think as well, especially with a keeper, like to change your keeper now just before the AC game as well, like that's either gonna like absolutely rock his confidence, or you're bringing the Bravo in for the Champions League basically. So yeah, he'll definitely start. Moving into the midfield, I wanted to kind of, we've obviously talked about the right, but who do you think is going to get the nod on the left? Because it is a bit trickier with the Champions League game only 3 days later or whatever it is. I would have said Gordon's going to definitely start, but I don't know, maybe this is the game where Barnes gets his first start. What do you think?
I'd like to see that, but then again, it's hard because Gordon has been probably our best player this season. So I get what you're saying. You've got to keep people fresh for a big game in midweek, but it would be quite a statement for him to not be putting Gordon in, especially the way he's played in the 2 games at St James's so far this season. He's been by far the best player on the pitch at times. So yeah, tough one really. I do want to see Barnes though get his chance to really go from the start. We've seen him be effective in one way and not so off the bench in a couple of games this season. So it would be nice to see him from the start. But yeah, I don't know. It might be a tough one for to drop Gordon despite the AC game, just with the way he's been playing.
Yeah, I reckon he probably starts. I think what he's shown over the course of the season is his fitness is getting a lot better. He's not one of those who's like knackered after 60 minutes. I know like sometimes Eddie brings him off, but he's still like running around, like chasing people down, covering, like closing down. I think it's probably more likely that he comes out the team. He's obviously played for Sweden in the break. And scoring for Sweden, to be fair. But Wilson's done very well when he's came on, scored a couple of goals. And I think this could be one where Isak's rested for the Champions League. Wilson starts up front, and yeah, I think Gordon probably starts on one side, and I want to say I think Barnes could start on the left and Gordon on the right, something like that, or even Murphy given his chance. I could genuinely see it happening if McGee isn't up to like full fitness, but I don't expect to see the same lineup as Brighton in that front three. I think there will be changes. It's just hard to predict where they're going to come because, yeah, Eddie Howe likes to be loyal to his players, and when they haven't done anything particularly wrong, like Isak, like he got a few chances against Brighton, didn't take them early on. I think he could well be the one who comes out. He's in my fantasy team. I'm still going to start him, but I think there's a chance he'll just get benched. To be fair, because he's one who does struggle with fitness as well when it comes later in the game. If he is having that high pressure game, he does get a bit leggy. It's because he's put the work in. Don't get us wrong, but yeah, I'd see him just having a little bit of a rest before the big game, as Sam said, 3 days later.
Yeah, I was going to question whether we might see Isak start on the left, because he obviously dropped to that position against Brighton, but I think it would be unusual, especially with the Champions League game around the corner, because then I would imagine like you want one of those lads as fresh as possible, like whether it is Wilson or Isak, you want one of them to be as fresh as possible for the Champions League. So I couldn't imagine they'll both start. I think for me, I'd like to see Barnes left, Gordon right, and probably Wilson up top, to see how, because I think Barnes and Wilson, like so far they've had a couple of opportunities where they haven't quite linked up, but I could see once they do start linking up, I could see them two being like really good for each other. So yeah, I'd like to see that and see how they get on, and just see how Gordon gets on from the right from the start. But I wouldn't be opposed to Murphy starting as well. And even if Miggy is fit, then I think he had quite a good game against Brentford last season. So either way, I think the right hand side should be pretty solid. And yeah, I think we'll move on to predictions unless there's anything I've missed.
Do you reckon there's any chance that Eddie Howe changes formation at all? Because as you mentioned, like Isak coming out on the left, he's actually not looked bad when he's played as like a 10. I don't know. Obviously, we've talked about the centre mids specifically not being in good form. Do you reckon there's any chance that he drops that into a 2 in midfield and maybe plays Isak or someone, or even Gordon as a number 10 or sort of shadow striker, as he played in the Euros in the summer, the under 21s, obviously?
I'd like to see that potentially at some point this season, because we've seen there is a bit of a hole there. Like, we're not, like, the runners aren't quite getting there from midfield right now in the free man. Like, there's not that extra one pushing close enough for me, making those runs off of the striker. So yeah, can't see it happening for the Brentford one, but at some point I think with the inevitable injuries and rotation that we're going to have to happen, I think Eddie Howe has to have a plan B formation that he can revert to. And yeah, I'd like to see it be one where we do push one of those centre midfielders into more advanced, rather than do it the opposite way of, you know, going into a back five situation. Like, so I'd rather us be more adventurous and push into the attack. But yeah, I can't see it happening for this one.
Because if you look at the Man City game, that's where Foden absolutely tortured work. Like, in between the lines, he like dropped in as the number 10, receiving it on the half turn. Granted, he's probably one of the best players in the league at doing that. He's so quick at just like taking the ball with his back to goal and just turning on it and driving. But like, Isak is also one of the best dribblers in the league. Like, if he can receive the ball into feet there and like turn on it and then drive at defences with Wilson like hanging off the last man, I think that could cause a lot of problems. But as you're saying, I don't think Eddie would do that in a game like this. Maybe against like a Luton who will sit in like even deeper. I do expect Brentford to sit in deep, and I expect them to have 5 at the back like they often play against the bigger teams. But yeah, maybe save that for, as you're saying, a team who will sit even deeper, defending the edge of their box, so to speak.
I was just wondering if you might try something like that in the City game in the Cup. But I'd be surprised if he did it now, especially with Champions League like in a few days after, because trying out a new system just before one of the biggest games. I mean, potentially though, because we've had the international break, he could have been working with some of the players who haven't been away in a new system. But
well, they were playing a new sport in training, from what I was seeing the pictures of them playing some form of rugby with a footy. But yeah, don't think we'll be seeing them carrying the ball.
During next week.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, because obviously even the 3 like that are in the centre midfield at the moment, it could be that we see a change in there where one of them is just told, like, you, rather than like Bruno and Tonali, it seems like they've been told one goes, one sits, and they haven't quite worked it out yet. So whether the like push on with that, or one of them is told like, you sit in the 6 and you can be more of an 8, or even, I think Bruno actually was playing almost like a 10 for Brazil from the highlights I've seen. So potentially he could even sit in that. But I would imagine it'll be pretty much the same system as we used to for the Brentford game.
You'd think so.
That being said, time for predictions. it's a must-win game, really. So, can you see it being 3 points for the Toon?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It's always the little sigh for you, you know. Like you think about it, and then it's like.
I know, because I think, what did I've not got anything right this season, have I? Maybe one of the results.
No.
Not even a result right yet. Not a
I don't have
scoreline.
them all in front of me, but
I'm sure
you predicted a draw against Brighton, so I know that was wrong.
Well, yeah, that wasn't great, but yeah. I'm gonna say in this case,
City as well.
yeah, I think I got a win right against Villa, at least. But yeah, I'm gonna say we are gonna win, and it's gonna be a close game. I think we're gonna win 2-1.
I'm the same, where like I just don't have no confidence in we're keeping a clean sheet with Botman gone. I just cannot say it. Like, so yeah, I think they'll score. I think they'll probably score at least one. I'm gonna go with a old Desmond 2-2.
Oh,
I can see them scoring a couple. I could.
Another
I'd
Del
be
boy.
shocked if we kept a clean sheet. I think it'll be a knocker for both teams to score group one. Like,
yeah.
0-0 incoming.
I'll go 2-1 as well. I can see it being quite a horrible game, to be honest. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I've gone from like my predictions, like going into every game so confident.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolute shell shock now. It's like it's so tough to predict the win. But to be honest, I can't even really see us scoring 2 goals. But I'll go 2-1 anyway. Right. I hope we can at least put on like a good performance and get back to the sort of performances we're used to. Maybe not quite up there with the Villa performance, but it'll be good.
Time kick-off Saturday night, 5:30.
That's true.
Yeah. No, they'll be up for it.
If we can put in a good performance before the Champions League, that would be ideal. Like, even if the result doesn't go away, as long as we play well and we play to our game, that'll hopefully be a big confidence boost for the lads. And yeah, I guess join us in the next one, which will be that Champions League preview. We'll be previewing the AC Milan game. First Champions League game for 20 years.
20 years.
Weren't quite with the pod back then, so it'll be the first time previewing a Champions League game for us. Join us for that one. If you've enjoyed the episode, do like the episode, follow the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell. Follow us on social media as well, at stjames'pod. You'll get some quality insights into the games over there. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Wanna hear you go.